Speaking of muting, this is a stream. Ah. The stream begin. That doesn't rhyme. Close enough. Hello, and welcome to this stream. Yee. Oh, I moved things. I thought I was being clever by moving things, but I broke them. Never change anything. This is
good advice.
Oh, good sleepy kitty.
That's not the right button. There we go. There's a button. Oh, I'm well versed in streaming. Coming up to 5 years. The 6th year will be, I think, January 13th. I think was my first stream. January 13th, 2018.
You gotta press the mute button for the 5-year anniversary.
And press mute so I don't cough in people's ears. Happy cough, birthday cough. Yeah, we're here. Here are cats. There's a cute sleepy cat. There's a Crimble cat. There's a cat that's missing because I wasn't here last week.
Smart.
I mean, to be fair, none of us were here last week.
Hello.
I didn't feel confident enough to draw all of you as cats. So, frankly, didn't feel confident drawing me as a cat.
Aristocat, but it's us.
We can do that. Aristocats AU. Everybody wants to be a cat. Yeah. Does anybody remember what this is?
Barely.
Kind of.
Bears. Okay, we'll start there.
Chris, I'm at the point of the semester where I don't even know what day it is anymore.
I'm at the point of COVID where I don't know what day it is anymore.
I know
So yeah.
technically what we as a die, but also I don't remember what we did last time. That's 2 weeks ago. So wait, I don't have memory that long. I didn't even know if we did anything then.
Okay, apparently the button I have set up to mute my microphone also brings up menus in Firefox. That's annoying. Sorry about that. I'm still coughing, so muting will happen. But yeah, Via, there's definitely something is
Something
probably
is.
something is maybe. I mean, okay. So we said we're probably gonna like run this to the end of the year, so it's good to use that as a timescale of like, what do we need to do to finish this story in a form that is not entirely disappointing.
Right.
Which gives us, we're probably not going to stream on Christmas Day, I'm going to imagine.
No, I don't think.
So it's 5 more streams.
There's going to be at least one Sunday in there where I'm not going to be here because we're visiting grandma's.
Right, okay.
I mean, I mainly just put the end of the year because it's like, even if we don't get something usable, I think we're starting to run out of steam.
Yeah.
I have to mute manually like a chump. Right, I mean, it implies there's steam. In order to run out, one must have.
Shenanigans this entire time, and the shenanigans are running dry.
No! Dry shenanigans. We could end whenever we want. I don't mind. But,
right.
I don't know. Anyway, so, has everyone brought a wiki?
We could end today and just doodle.
I did find out a scary thing, actually. People, in the great Twitter migration, people were advertising how to use various social platforms. And somebody demonstrated to me that every Tumblr has a random page feature. So we can do bring your own Tumblr.
Let's... I don't know if I want that.
That's dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
Okay,
for multiple reasons.
Let's maybe not.
Not all of which have to do with TOS.
I mean,
It's fine.
mine might, but it might also just, cause me to die of embarrassment. I'm Mogus.
Sorry, the internet has conditioned me.
But yeah, what do we need to do? I don't know. What is the most thing we need to
what
focus
is the
on?
most thing? Do you know what one of the most things is Adrian von Ziegler, whose music I forgot to press play on.
Yes.
Thanks, Aid.
Adrian has the most music.
Yes.
This is true.
Adrian is definitely the most music of music.
Yes.
I mean, he certainly has enough styles that he's done things in to be the most music of music.
There's a lot. Discography is big.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, hang on. Ed von Ziegler. Because I think you can buy... I should probably put in... The complete discography of Adrian von Ziegler, which you can buy for $56, and it contains 420 tracks, some of which are like an hour long.
Yeah, so he is the most music.
Actually, I think he released an album recently, wasn't it? It was just really, really long things.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, now I don't know if they're in that discography thing, but I do know he's got at least one video on YouTube where he went, well, people liked this, like, 10 to 15 minute-ish track, so I decided to put it for, like, a 3-hour loop. It's like, what?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, the Relaxing Music Collection, $15. It's got 20 tracks, averaging at about half an hour each track. One of the tracks is just called 1 hour of sad piano improvisation. You get what you pay for, I guess. But yeah, so it's got a lot.
Yeah.
And people should thank
Adrian von Ziegler. Thank you.
Chibi has thanked.
What?
I don't know. You expected this stream to have any coherency.
I don't know. Help.
Help! Right. So okay, let's Via.
What's the most thing?
What's the most thing? I think something we should probably work out is the actual proper contents of the conversations with life and death and stuff like that, and what the character finds out when. Because they're like the linchpins of the various parts of the story. Firstly, the character working out that something's wrong, and then having the conversation with life and death, and then actually solving the problem in whatever way they do.
Or not, as the case.
Or not. Making things worse, potentially.
That's about the part where I kind of checked out mentally. Where I just couldn't remember the story anymore, any new things. So, I'm gonna be very helpful.
Well, that's why we need to sort it out, so that everybody knows what's happening. So I feel like that's the sort of backbone that holds the story together. And if, for example, Christy, who has been here for all of these streams, does not understand what is going on, we need to make it clear.
I haven't been doing my homework with reading all of this stuff multiple times, so I could remember it. So,
to be fair, I haven't written it, so... We talked about it and then left.
Or the stuff in Discord for people.
Oh,
coming up
right,
with,
yeah.
written things.
The thing is, as far as characters go, life and death are technically Oobs' brain children.
Yeah.
So we get into the problem of not wanting to step on toes.
I mean, we can explain the general ideas of what's happening. We don't have to put characterization into it necessarily. We can mess around with characterization, but we don't have to say, this is canon. I drew them in the style of Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, I think we're well past
It's fine.
mischaracterization.
Kiro! Hello, Kiro.
Hi, Kira.
Hello.
Okay. So the question is,
There they are.
when do we talk to life and death? Is that what your question is? What do
I just
they
sort of
say?
like, in my head, the sort of general structure of the story is you wake up and you do RPG things, but then you work out something's amiss and you got to try and discover that something is amiss. And then eventually you find this weird pool, either deliberately or accidentally. You travel to Limbo, you have a conversation with life and death, they explain what's happening, you go and do whatever they explained, or don't do whatever they explained, and then the story happens. And so the general skeleton of the story revolves around their plan, or what they explain to you, or what they expect of you, things like that. And I feel like that's probably something to get sorted, upon which we can hang everything else.
Right.
Sip the blood pool. Get a straw.
Yes.
It also just depends on what's broken and what is currently happening that's keeping it from that's making it more of a problem. So right now we've got like the administrative problem of like whoever did the scheduling has made it so that all of the workers have an infinite amount of work to do, and thus it will take an infinite amount of time to take it. So the line never stops for getting into the afterlife. But it seems like we've also got an additional something where we've got like fame and fortune are like sticking some wedges in and are hoping that if someone pounds those wedges hard enough that just all of reality will break. So I guess part of it is going to be like what's the connection between those two? So how does the line at the DMV is going to take an infinite amount of time to clear? How does that connect to we hit this a couple of times and then all of reality breaks?
Excellent question. Chibi?
Well, I guess we can start with how other games have sort of handled this sort of thing. So the biggest one that comes to mind with you can either fix this or break it more is actually with Dark Souls 1, where you've got the thing of rekindling the flame, where the problem there is that essentially entropy is kicking in and everything is just slowing down and eventually is just going to die off, and entities expect you to essentially add more energy into the system so entropy just doesn't stop along with everything else. That doesn't seem to be the problem here. Life and death are still going. We're just stuck on something. So it seems like it's more of a like someone sticking a stick in the bicycle wheel, where it's like, well, the wheel could move, but there's something obstructing it. And we've seen that, like, to a certain extent, life has moved on from the cataclysm, like outside of the underworld. Life has moved on when we've got new races and species that just didn't exist before the failed PhD thesis. So, I don't know. So, like, life outside of the underworld or the afterlife seems to be moving along, or was moving along fine-ish, or at least is moving. How is that connected to... Oh. Okay, so... slight tangent. In one of the Disgaea games. So in Disgaea, Prinnies are the souls of people who are not good people. Get sent off to Hades to exist as Prinnies and sort of make up for their crimes and eventually get reincarnated. Because they're souls, they have a lot of energy in them. But because it's Disgaea, everything has to be silly. So in one of the games, someone essentially just sort of stapled all of the Prinnies together into a giant Prinnie suit and made a giant Prinnie bomb with the intent of, I think, blowing up the moon.
As one does.
As one does, yes. Like I said, Disgaea is silly. Could it be that since... Okay, so life has sort of moved on and is sort of getting... Like, well, I say life... Not capital L life, lowercase l life has sort of moved on and is sort of figuring things out. Could it be that maybe the backup of souls is maybe a thing where it's like, okay, in theory, this wouldn't be a problem. It's just going to take an infinite amount of time to process them all, but death has an infinite amount of time to do it, so it's whatever. But having these, like, wedges that are fucking up with reality even more so on an existential level is potentially using those backed up souls as like a bomb? I don't know. Something with that. We need something where we break in reality.
Yeah, I don't know about the souls thing of the matter, but I do think it's like, you know, like you say, like, technically death has an infinite supply of time, because they kind of exist out of time, but also not. It's weird. Don't ask questions about it. But because of, like, fame and fortune fuckery, they somehow, like, are running out of time for some reason. Like, fame and fortune essentially put a timer on what death's work of, like, you know, then you have to be done, and if they're not done, well, world is ours.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a
they didn't
statute
say
of
that
limitations.
explicitly to that space, but that's what they've been trying to do.
There are all these unclaimed souls just roaming around, and if they don't get claimed within a particular finite amount of time, they become lost property, and thus fame and fortune can claim them.
Death, so technically,
anyone, etc., etc. Now, death has an infinite amount of time to do an infinite number of things, but unfortunately, they can't do that in a finite amount of time, which is when the warranty runs out. I miss.
When the warranty runs out.
You know when your death warranty runs out?
I know.
Fucking sucks.
Yeah, you technically become the property of... Or, well, you technically don't become the property of a couple of fae.
Because they don't own anything.
Yeah! You technically aren't property, but also you are.
Okay, yeah, that I think that's a good working spot. So this would be a. So we're sort of post-apocalypse, and life is moving on slowly but surely, and technically all of the backed up souls aren't that much of a problem because death is just kind of like whatever, just another big mass extinction event. We'll get this cleared up eventually. But because some of the souls are not in the waiting queue, they're up in the Golden City. And because we have Fame and Fortune are actively doing something to take advantage of the waiting queue, the souls that aren't in the waiting queue, and the weird little cracks between the afterlife and the mortal realm, life and death are on a time limit, which is why they're like, right, okay, we can't leave because there's still a queue. Let's staple some bits of souls together, send it up topside, and see if it can fix that.
Yeah. Essentially. Yeah, Fame and Fortune are essentially like doing the soul equivalent of trapping a bunch of beetles in jars. Just put an insect in a jar, stick a leaf in it. That's another one.
Neat.
And in some cases, having other people stick
Yeah.
the beetle in the jar.
Mostly that, but
Do we get to visit the coleoptery of souls? I say coleoptery as if it's a place. That's a job.
That
jar
actually
collection.
might be an interesting thing as part of the crazy multi-phase boss fight of look how you've broken it, hero.
Yeah, because we have like this sort of end boss fight where basically the more you mess up, the more phases there are.
Now, I do still think that this is a thing where, yes, there's a timer, but it's like at a cosmological scale timer.
The doomsday clock.
Where it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, the sun will eventually engulf the earth. You don't have to worry about that. You'll be dead by then.
Yeah.
So for most people, this time dilation apocalypse thing, they won't notice. I'm thinking the boss fight with Fame and Fortune happens sort of in a weird space where it's like, and because of what you did, the world is going to end eventually. There's an RPG from the God, now it's technically an old RPG from the Game Boy Advance called Golden Sun. And it started off as a duology, so it had one game and then had another game later. But at the start of the first game, you've got your party, and it's like, right, we gotta go hunt down these people who came and attacked our village and stole some magical stuff and are, according to this just floating rock eyeball, don't worry about it, they're off to unlock alchemy and use it to destroy the world. And at the start of the game, you can choose just not to follow them. There's a little thing option, but it's then an automatic game over, and I don't remember what the exact screen is, but the implication is like, and then the world ended. Turns out, once you play the second game, you find out that the reason why they wanted to re-release alchemy is because the world is slowly dying, and it's slowly shrinking and things are falling off the edge because we live on a flat Earth. So I think the final fight with Fame and Fortune is more of a, okay, this isn't time scale wise, this isn't something that's happening immediately, but because of the things you have done, yes, the world is going to end.
I mean, how do I?
And now they're going to just laugh at you for it.
Because you like
Solid 10 minutes of laughing.
I have a different take on this, but because you equated it with like, eventually the sun is gonna explode, that kind of thing, which it would be because this apparently has been going on for, since the Fame and Fortune have been, trying to do since God knows how long.
Time
They're like these
immemorial.
primordial beings. But it's the equivalent of okay, well, most people aren't gonna, be that invested in the sun's gonna explode in I don't know how many millions of years.
Billions.
Billions of years. But then so, most players of the game aren't gonna be invested in this because in billions of years maybe Fame and Fortune are still working on their Grandmaster plan. But then be really funny to me of okay, you weren't worried about this, but now you're the person who made the sun explode.
You made it faster. They've been slowly sticking in wedges, and you just took a giant sledgehammer to it. Which
the
granted
sun wasn't gonna explode until billions of years from now. But thanks to what you did, the sun is gonna explode now. I think that's just really funny.
That is, actually. And it's actually sort of works, seeing as some of the things we get mixed up in are, really major things. So, working with the Mafia, and then it's right, and now all of creation is going to be siphoning out the powers, siphoning out the energy from literally the afterlife. And if you thought death had a lot of paperwork to deal with before, oh boy. Now it's even worse. With the remains with the floating city, clearly there's some weird fantasy magic stuff going on up there. I'm sure just crashing the whole thing and killing everyone off means that we're losing some information, and or that might be a nuke in the fantasy equivalent of a nuke in there. That's not good. The Golden City residents literally were from literally the leftover souls from the forest that we haven't gotten to yet because there's still a long queue, and also they're not in the queue. So just blowing them all up like the Eldritch abominations in the sea want you to do, probably not good. That just means the bugs are now floating around more easily for Fame and Fortune to put into jars. Getting the lights and disrupting whatever's going on in the underground, in the depths, we don't even really have a good idea of what is down there. So it could be disrupting that, just, again, causes more of a rift, maybe opens another thing to a blood pool, and it's right now it's leaking out somewhere else. And now it's just that, if any of you guys have ever watched people playing Sea of Thieves, whenever they're in a ship and it's they just keep getting hit, it's just we close a hole and now there's another leak, and we close that hole and now there's another leak, and we close a hole and now there's another leak. And we're just sort of causing more holes.
Fame and Fortune are a leak. Got it.
Yes.
I do like how when I started this project, I sort of emphasized, hey, this time we've done RPG, this time we're going to do adventure game. So Zelda, I think sort of that sort of thing. And now we're right in knee deep, not even knee deep, chest deep in JRPG nonsense. I think that's just what we gravitate towards at this point.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there could be stuff like this in Zelda games, and we mentioned Dark Souls as well. But we didn't have to this time. We did this voluntarily.
Oh yeah, we could have made a really easy, nice adventure game. With a very simple goal, and instead we're talking about the sun exploding and you caused it, and also souls are put in jars like beetles.
I mean, we also started with the afterlife.
Yeah.
And a city of roaming souls.
That too. There was always
but that could
be a little bit of fuckery.
Well, that's that could be pretty standard you know, how deep does Ocarina of Time dive into the origin of the pose? You know, there's just ghosts. You go to a graveyard, there's ghosts. Nice. And we're like, right. We try to make connections, that's our problem.
Trying to explain everything.
And all we end up doing is confusing Christy.
I'm just making sea monsters.
Yeah.
Don't mind
It's a
me.
very good monster. I like him.
Thank
mean,
you.
we
It
do
looks
need
very
sea
creepy,
monsters.
but-
Yeah.
Sorry, what? Ragdoll, I'm sorry.
We do need sea monsters. That's one of the areas where it's like there's something going on here, but we don't know who all the players are. Save for the fact there's at least one mermaid who has a girlfriend, boyfriend, date mate, unclear. Always see them in a scuba gear anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Question. Fun question, probably. Do you, as the player, find out you're dead before you find life and death? Or do you just roll up there and they're just kind of like, you're dead, by the way?
By the way,
Do you know why we called you here?
Ah, you're here
I-
just in time.
I personally sort of like the idea that
Or
as
is
you're
this
going
never
into the
explained?
depths, you sort of find the like physical manifestations of the infinitely long queue, but we've already sort of established that there's really only 3 souls that you're seeing bits from, and I sort of like the idea that that's because, and I mean, you might be made out of more souls, they're just in a different part of the queue, but you're made out of parts of those 3 in particular.
Oh, okay.
Now,
Okay.
whether that's a thing you figure out then, or can potentially figure out then, like I don't know if you like go into the wizard's tower and there's something about like, oh yeah, soul echoes or something like that. Who knows?
So,
I do sort of like the idea of like you're not like a soul made the natural way. We just took bits and pieces of things that got stuck in the queue and are in pieces because of the calamity thing. So there's pieces lying around, and we just sort of Frankensteined together something and sent it off.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. That you're just kind of like an amalgamation of these like different people from way back when.
so we are designing fantasy JRPG nonsense October.
it's like Kira said they've played quite a few action adventure games that have plenty of JRPG nonsense. It's like you just can't. Just try and get away from it. Like next time I'm going to specify. Next time I'm going to be like, right, noir mystery. We can't screw that up. We will
say
screw that up.
But before school got insane, I was
Oh
playing...
yeah, true. Forgot about that. Okay, fine.
I might have paused because of school, but I've been playing one of the Devil Summoner games, and that has both noir mystery and JRPG nonsense.
It does,
The last
yes.
time I played, a boat turned into a mech.
Wait.
I'm not even joking. We went down to investigate the military thing, and the military man is being possessed by ye old nature spirit, and there was a boat that turned into a mech, and I think it's going to shoot the moon? I'm not sure.
Ah, yes, nature. Where mechs come from.
I mean, to be fair, the nature spirit isn't in the mech. It's being powered by a bunch of weird demon sack babies that feed off of... Look, they're weird balloon baby sack things that
Hey, you
feed
can't-
off of human negative emotions.
Can't screw up a noir, he says.
Oh. Now everything about that game is very relevant. Exactly.
It's time.
Oh.
I mean, it's what they look like. Let me...
The description may be accurate, but that doesn't mean it's right.
Going to have to go through a couple of things to get a picture of them because it has been a while since I have played and I have forgotten what they are called because in my head they're just the weird red demon sack babies.
Understandably so.
That reminds me. Do you ever get a thought where you're reminded of something that you forgot last time as well? Does that make sense?
Expound further.
I don't know when, but not long ago, I remembered a creature from The Witcher that I couldn't remember what was called, and I now again remembered them, not remembering what they're called.
Yeah,
Oh,
I get that. Yeah.
it's another flesh balloon.
Yeah,
Oh.
and it's coming out of some poor dude's back.
Charming.
Hate it.
Yeah, they're pretty gross. And you have to walk on a bunch of them in one area because one of the dungeons is literally covered in them.
Do they say boing?
In my dub, they do.
Yay.
Then again, in my dub, everybody says boing.
Okay.
That's
So
unpleasant. Excuse me, Cheap. Are you trying to bring us back to Project Via?
Yes.
That's not what we're here for.
We're here to talk about how detective noir stories can become JRPG nonsense.
What do life and death tell us exactly? Like, what do they... Like, we've basically figured out, like, well, I mean, kind of, as in the sun's gonna explode, but, you know.
Metaphorically.
Yeah.
I mean, it can also be literally.
Sure.
You never know.
Like, but what do they tell you, as in, like, what do they think is happening? Like,
Well, that's actually a good question. Are
we
they
as,
even
like-
aware? Are
Yeah,
they aware
like-
that fame and fortune even exist, or are they just aware that, like, hey, people keep fucking around and putting wedges into this, and it's gonna break soon?
People
Soon
keep fucking
in
around
their
and
sense, not
soon
soon
we're
in
gonna
your sense.
find out. Because I don't...
They could be just like, you know, oh, it's probably one of that, probably one of that Fey lot. You know, they're always messing with things.
Yeah.
We don't hold jurisdiction over them, so we don't really know what they're doing. But...
Yeah. I guess... It's like, I don't even know if, like, at this point, if life and death would be aware of fame and fortune's existence, because they're kind of existing beyond life and death, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, maybe they have, like, you know, an inkling of a feeling of something of, like, you know, these, like, you might want to inquire with, like, the Mimbles or something. But I don't think they really know like who is causing this. Or like why it is happening exactly. They know what is happening, just not like why.
At the risk of introducing even more characters,
Cool.
could there be could there be like a kind of obvious like bluff of there is this fake character who comes across just rather evil, but it turns out they're just like that. They're not planning on doing anything. And so the game is sort of lulling the player very obviously into thinking that they are the bad one.
Oh yeah.
Because it is supposed to be a bit of a surprise that Fame and Fortune are the ones behind everything. They're just merchants. They're weird, but they're merchants.
Yeah.
I mean, it could also be something wizard related as well, because the initial apocalypse break happened because of wizards.
Yeah.
I mean, for all we know, the original wizards and the Mimbles are like two branches off of the same weird Fey tree. And one side went into business and one side went into academia.
Well, in that case...
very interesting notion of like these are the same species.
I'm on board for that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But in that case, we don't have to introduce new characters because we do have Evil Wizard.
Oh, yes.
So maybe there's a long string of the story where you're just, it's clearly Evil Wizard. They're Evil Wizard.
They're Evil Wizard.
Even the wizards agree that they're evil, and the wizards are weird.
Yeah. That makes sense of, like... Because of course you're gonna think that, like, the person that everyone is saying is evil is gonna be, like, the one who, like, did some major destruction or something, and then you later find out, like, their crimes include, like, indoor smoking, and it's like, what?
Hot evil wizard.
They accidentally shredded someone's thesis, which is the real crime. Wasn't even the original thesis, it was like the third copy of the thesis.
Weird wizards weirdly wielding wands. I mean, if this wizard is wielding a wand, I don't really want to know what's happening, but... Oh, titty. Yes. Guess who drew that?
You will never guess. But yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So maybe.
And I mean, even if they're not like subspecies of each other, having the wizards are clearly powerful enough to cause shenanigans like this, seeing as they caused the first apocalypse that's causing backup in the paperwork. But yeah, so having Evil Wizard be one of the psych, not really.
I feel like maybe on your first encounter they explain the problem, but they themselves don't yet have a solution. So they're just like, keep an eye on these people. Keep an eye on Evil Wizard. And they have like a passing thing of like...
Keep an eye on the wizards, keep an eye on the Mimbles.
Yeah. They're all messing with things, but some of them understand, and then there's the wizards. So yeah, I think maybe with the first meeting you just get explained what the problem is, but not like... You get explained what's wrong, not why it's wrong. There's just the whole issue of like souls unaccounted for, and the whole system is sort of backed up, and things aren't flowing the way they should. There's some sort of interference, etc., etc.
There's a leak. There's 3 leaks. There's 5 leaks. There's more leaks.
So many leaks. It's turning into soup.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get the administrative work done, and the systems are all crashing.
I always draw life and death in this sort of ominous space, standing and staring. Those could be lounging.
We just,
have to be-
on the sofa.
Yeah, on the first time you visit them, it's all grandiose and formal, and then you come back and they're just sort of like sitting down in front of a massive TV.
Getting some paperwork done while they're watching their soap operas.
Death is wearing their reading glasses.
Yeah.
That's how you know they're busy. They can't even like schedule in like 2 minutes for like very grandiose proper talking to mortals kind of stuff. No, they have to do it while they're working now.
They had time in their schedule to do it once, and they were able to work the time in because Mr. Tubbs gave them forewarning that, hey, there's someone here. And then after that, it's like, okay, well, Mr. Tubbs isn't going weird because now you're Mr. Tubbs' best friend forever. So now you come in and it's like they didn't get a pre-warning because the cat didn't freak out about an intruder. So you come in and they're just like eating a TV dinner, doing paperwork while watching your soap operas. Or at least the cosmological equivalent thereof.
I'm trying to do that and I can't, but I still love it. It's a cosmic TV dinner spaghetti monster.
Eating the giant flying spaghetti monster.
Mm.
They keep bringing back never-ending story flashbacks. I don't know the film. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did like that the first time you meet them. They kind of like just point out groups that could potentially be like a cast of it, or at least have something to do with it, because of course.
Or might know more information.
Yeah, or might know information because it's
So if we have the case that like the upper levels of the ocean are newer and brighter and younger and more connected to this new world than the old world, and the stuff down deep below is where the weird stuff is. This might be one of the areas, depending on how early you can get to here, where it's like we get to unlock some areas into the depths and we get to unlock some areas deeper into the forest. Or at least we can unlock some idea of what's going on in the depths of the forest, even if we could get to the techie apocalypse lawn area.
I'm thinking of like
White Christmas?
No. I'm thinking like maybe there is like a second blood pool in like the abyss, like very deep in the abyss, and that's where you meet them again. Just so you
Okay,
like,
yeah.
like, you know, because by the time you get to the abyss, because it's so old, and you get like more, you know, more of a sense of like, because the deep ones in the abyss are trying to like also get you on this idea of like, you know, destroy the golden city and stuff. So I imagine by then you have more of a feel of what's going on and you're deep in the story, and I think you can like meet life and death for a second time and essentially walk in through their back door without knocking and just be like, hey, I know stuff now. And they're like, ah, shit.
What are you doing here? I just took a shower. I'm in my bathrobe.
What?
It looks the same as my regular robes, but
Why are you in our house?
No, but that's actually an interesting idea, because when you look at deep sea life, a lot of deep sea life is sustained from two main things. Thing one, stuff from the top level dying and falling down.
Like
Thing
what you
number
posted
two-
earlier.
Yeah.
Whale
Just like
fall.
with the whale falls that I posted. Thing number two, volcanic vents at the bottom of the ocean that
Oh,
release
yes.
heat and release all sorts of minerals that various life forms down there can live off of. So if we've got essentially something like that, except it's a blood pool and not a volcano, the floor is not lava, the floor is blood soup.
Great. Yeah, but yeah, I also like that because it might give like more of a reason of like the idea of like turning on the lights and getting the life out of like the deep ocean, kind of like because they don't like the light. Because of course, like fame and fortune are not gonna want to have those around when they can get access to another blood pool. They just want the blood pool.
No, okay, yeah.
They
That
want
makes
to
sense.
break into Life and Death's house through their back door.
They want to break into their house and then steal all of their cans of soup.
Yeah, steal their
Steal all their
accounts of
beetles.
soup and maybe also like something like really annoying to lose, like their keys or something, or also just mildly annoying things, like suddenly Death's fuzzy slippers are gone. But yeah,
The batteries for the remote, not the remote itself, just the batteries.
just the batteries. Just, drink all their milk, put the carton back in the fridge. That kind of
Or
thing.
don't put it in the fridge. Put it in
Put
the
it in
the
fridge.
closet instead.
Yeah.
Ooh, the heat closet for when you come home from skiing.
Mm.
I, for one, would consider anybody who puts milk in my boiler room an enemy.
Yes, absolutely.
Not only did they drink all of the milk, any bits that are left have now gone sour because they just put it in the heat room. Like, this has spoiled. The place now stinks. I'm gonna have to get some baking soda, get the smell out.
You get the idea.
Just really annoying the hell out of Life and Death.
So they want access to the blood pool, which is arguably sort of one of the more powerful things that they want access to.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason they want access to that is pure mischief.
Absolutely. It serves no other purpose than,
I mean, if you think about it, though, if they're causing
Thank you,
life
miss.
and death more direct nonsense and annoyances, that's just gonna make the sun explode faster.
Yeah, it's like,
Putting milk in the boiler room is going to cause the sun to explode.
I mean, that's not...
That's what you
Listen,
came back to,
if
miss.
you had, like, your whole house smelling of spoiled milk, and also you don't know where the smell is coming from, because it's not in the place you expect, would you be able to get any work done?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. That's essentially what they're doing. I mean, they, like, it's also just, like, they're not gonna, like, do things directly because they're fame and fortune. Then, like, if they do too much, Life and Death's gonna notice.
Yeah,
And
it's not
gonna
like they
be
can
pissed.
own the underworld. They can just sort of squat there for a while and hope life and death don't notice.
Yeah. Um.
Meanwhile, they're living in their wall, chewing on the wires. Getting bed bugs in the bed.
Just making it very impossible for life and death to get like the work done and just enjoy life in general. You know, stealing all their pens so they cannot do any paperwork. I guess just
Yeah,
also doing stuff like the Fae are generally like known for. Like, you know, just being like mild like annoyances.
Yeah, the Mimbles might have essentially become domesticated and are more or less just very strange businessmen doing business things in their business suits. But these two are still chaos clowns.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, look at the wormy thing.
Look at the wormy thing. It's a good worm.
Oh, worm.
Let's go, little teeths.
Well, thief.
And glowy leaves.
Oh, is it my
Difficult-
wormy thing?
Yo, wormy thing.
Yay!
It's like bioluminescent fin thingies.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's difficult to really give a proper name to limbs for undersea creatures because they don't look an awful lot like anything else anybody's ever seen. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a bit tricky.
I mean, and it doesn't help that for the most part, outside of the water, you've really only got like 3 or 4 modes of locomotion, and some of those are just modifications of another one. So, like, yeah, we technically have flight, and guess how most things fly? By taking what would be either the arms or front limbs of another creature and then just waving them around in the air with stuff attached to them. So not a whole lot of different ways to do that. And then in the ocean, it's like, well, okay.
What if
Sure.
I just propel... What if I become a formless blob and just propel my entire body forward?
Mm.
You know.
What if I just huff and puff real hard?
What if I have like 10,000 little legs and just kind of like shimmy?
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost adorable.
What if I pretend to be a
hilariously-
rock and to make something else pick me up?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of living things. There's a lot of things in this ocean that people look at it and go, oh, that's a plant, and it's not.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at Pinterest now for inspiration for more sea creatures, and I have 2 folders. There's animal painting inspo and plants, and I am having a hard time finding out
And
which folder to put things.
Yeah. Careful where you put the coral.
And I mean, depending on who set them up, I can almost guarantee that either some of the things in the plant folder are actually animals, or there are things in the animal folders where you look at them and go, that's not an animal.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, coral, technically an animal. Anemones, also technically an animal. There's just a lot of things in the ocean where you look at it and go, that's a plant. And then it's like, no, it has a skeleton.
No, it's just really still.
I know.
Which I can relate to.
I haven't drawn anything else all stream.
It is very good. This will be the biggest thing in the thumbnail. and the title of the VOD will be like, you know, Epic consequences of life and death. And then there should be this little sleepy kitten. It goes a Grinch.
The
That's
sun's gonna explode.
Yes, it's a really good sleepy little kitten. It's had too much sun.
I also like how I spent a month drawing cats because I was so bad at drawing cats in these streams that I'm like, I need to learn how to draw cats, and I'm none the wiser after an entire month.
You did draw them completely different every time.
Yes, yeah, they were, yeah.
Yeah, usually you need to repeat something in order to get better at it. Words.
That's not why I got into art. I got into art to draw something once and then know it forever.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime you learned, you drew horses to learn how to draw horses. Exactly. And I actually slightly know how to draw a horse now, but certainly better than I did before.
I mean,
Insert
the attempt
picture
you did
of...
before was infamous.
Look. Sometimes a really low bar is just very satisfying to clear.
Limbo, but in reverse.
The high jump. Or pole vault, I guess. Well, pole vault is high jump for people who have a stick.
Add that to the quiz.
For more of my sporting revelations, buy my book. What's That Man Running For? Available in no good bookshops. Which cats are as big as horses?
I mean,
What if
some
they
of
were
them
as
are,
big as a
but they're
bus?
not. Some cats are as big as horses, but you don't want those cats in your house.
I guess you're right.
Some people do, and that was a mistake.
Frankly, even if we just scaled up a normal cat, like a domesticated house cat, to that size, it would still be incredibly dangerous.
Yep. You ever tried to hold a cat that doesn't want to be held?
Have you ever tried to do anything with a cat that doesn't want you anywhere near it? You want ones that are 7 foot tall at the shoulder, right? Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
I mean-
so if it starts to scream for food, it will just eat you instead.
Oh god, yeah. You know how annoying domesticated cats are when they're small.
So,
You know, scratch at the door, they'll tear down the front of your house just to get in. And then decide that they don't want to come in.
And now we have a broken door.
there was a Tumblr post someone made going, so the thing with cat girls is people just assume they do the exact same thing as regular cats. They're just people shaped, so they go around like hunting mice and birds and squirrels, but house cats hunt mice and birds and squirrels because that's sort of the appropriate size of prey. But if these are human shaped, and given what humans have hunted down, you're more likely to get a cat girl that's like eyeing an elephant,
Oh no.
figuring out
I
how are we
mean-
going to take this down.
To be fair, I would not put it past Kiki to look at an elephant and go, yeah, I can take that on.
I think there is at least one wild cat that's known for taking down things that are much larger than it. It like hides in anthills or something and then like bursts out and just destroys their entire career.
What about grumpy dogs?
Grumpy Dogs has an ear itch.
Aww. Scratch the ear.
Okay, so what else.
Oh yeah, Via.
Yeah. What?
What?
That is basically the question we've been trying to ask for 28 consecutive and non-consecutive weeks.
Yeah.
Literally use the word consecutive a week after not doing it.
Because I guess we kind of like.
I mean,
kind
I
of
guess
figured
at this
out-
point we can. So we sort of know what Fame and Fortune are up to, and we know that they're actually the ones that are breaking or trying to break reality.
Mhm.
But if we're establishing that, so Life and Death don't know what is breaking reality, they can just see that the system the system is encountering errors, and clearly it's something from outside of the system.
Mhm.
And they're like, right, okay, well, Mimbles are Fae. Most of them are not really interested in this sort of thing, but that's one possibility. Wizards are wizards. That's definitely a possibility, seeing as they mucked everything up the first time around. If you've got questions about the old ways, the old ones down at the bottom of the ocean probably have some information. And by the way, the inside of the forest is where this all started. And if we've got Evil Wizard as sort of a psych, not really enemy, I guess we can sort of maybe think about what's going on with that.
Yeah.
What is the Evil Wizard's deal? I mean, besides being evil and a wizard.
Also question, where do we, like, meet Evil Wizard?
Yeah, we haven't really discussed where they're coming in the story.
Like, where are they geographically?
Wherever they want to be. Clearly not in the Wizard Tower.
No, not in the Wizard Tower, clearly.
In their own wizard tower.
A personal
Although
Wizard
it would
Tower.
be sort of funny if you go through the Wizard Tower and there's one room that's very obviously boarded up. Because it's like, right, that used to be the Evil Wizard's room. When we've kicked him out, he doesn't have access to that anymore. Or they don't have access to that anymore. That could be fun. But yeah, the Evil Wizard clearly has their own Evil Wizard lair that's not connected to the rest of the Evil Wizard network. It's a weird sentence.
We talked about, what was it? No, don't worry, that's wrong.
Nothing and everything is wrong in this. Carry on.
Was it sex? What was it?
Was it sex? What?
Like something you talked about earlier. Yeah, I'm just thinking that's not the weirdest thing you've said all night. I think you get in Discord.
Oh, I'm sure I've said weirder things. I teach mathematics. There's a lot of weird things that come out of my mouth.
Yeah, I do like the idea of, like, when you are in the Wizard Tower, you do come across, like, Evil Wizard's room, or not even like room, I guess, it's door. Like, because the doors go everywhere, we've established. So it's his door that's, boarded up and, like, don't go in here, you cannot go in here. That's bad. That's
Oh, idea. Okay. If we have the idea of, like, okay, the Evil Wizard is sort of our psyche, he's not actually causing this. I think we said earlier that one idea was that the Evil Wizard is sort of not really working with the witch so much as working against the wizards.
Yeah.
So it might be interesting if So we've established we've got like the archives where you might be able to access some of the like original documents of the failed PhD thesis.
Mm-hmm.
But if we wanted to make it part of an overall fetch questy sort of thing, it might be interesting for it to be like, right, well, they would have been in the archives, but someone checked them out and never returned them. In which case, Matt Guffin is very annoyed with all of this. Because you don't do that. You borrow something from the archives and then you return it in a timely manner. So it might be that some of the it might be that some of the relevant documents, either Evil Wizard has them or they're stuck in his room that he doesn't have access to because it's locked off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe they can go back to their room, but they know that the moment they go back to their room, they're going to have access to this stuff, and the moment they have access to this stuff, they're liable to get a fine. So they're just not going back.
That's what I was thinking as well. Yeah, they're not going back to the Wizard Tower, not because they cannot access the room, because they can from, like, their own place.
They just don't want to deal with library fines.
Yeah.
No.
It's always admin.
At their core, they are still a wizard.
At their core, still a wizard.
And their reasoning is just utter, incomprehensible administrative nonsense.
You ask them about it, and they're just like, do you know how much I would have to pay? I cannot afford that. That fine is immense. It's been hundreds of years. I could take these files for like 3 weeks at max.
So you have to go to the Wizard Tower, break into their wizard room, find the files, and figure out what's going on.
Pay their fines.
And then never go back to the archives again.
Yeah. It just say, it's like, the game trope of like, after you've done this, you cannot come back to this area. It's like, after you do this, you cannot go back to the archives. Are you sure you want to do this? Because after this, you cannot go back, or you will have to pay a massive fine that you cannot afford.
I just find it really funny that apparently the archives, the library fines for the Wizard Archive have a transitive property. It's not who checked it out, it's who is currently holding the document in their hands.
Yes.
That is responsible for the fine.
It's wizard logic. Mostly because, sometimes they loan out, files to their colleagues, and then their colleagues don't return them for 300 years, but that's not their fault.
If you find the documents too early, that locks you out of any sort of quest lines with Matt Guffin. Unless you pay either an absorbent amount of money, which is probably more than you can hold in your wallet, or there becomes a different quest line where you essentially become an indentured servant to the archives to make up for the fines that you can't pay.
Primordial hat.
This is my lineage of how the Fae and the Wizards are connected.
The primordial hat is a traffic cone.
Yep. It was a drunken party, somebody put a traffic code on their head and they gained magical powers. This was weird.
That makes perfect sense, yes.
I'm going to look at that. I'm going to go back into this file and look at it and going, what did we mean by that?
I also like, you know, the idea of these two, like, coming from the same, like, original species, also because it makes, like... Well, you have these beings that are, like, both out of time, or, like, you know, standing outside of, like, things, concepts, like life and death. One group knows exactly what it's doing, but doesn't do it for obvious reasons. And the other group is kind of fucking around and finding out.
Yeah, those who know what they're doing don't, because they know what would happen. And those that don't know what they're doing are doing it, because they don't know what would happen.
So they're both equally as likely as, you know, to be the cause for something like this.
Yeah.
Just one probably doesn't know it's the cause for it.
Or
It's
even
just
if
like-
they do know, it's buried in paperwork somewhere in the archives.
Yeah.
It basically does, it boils down to, it might be the Fae, because they know what they're doing, but it might be the Wizards, because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's basically it. Also, we have no coherent idea of what the Fae look like, so I just drew a fluffy goblin with a hat.
It makes sense.
I mean, they vary a lot. The only thing that seems to be consistent is that a lot of them have more limbs than you expect.
Which makes drawing a representative head difficult.
Exactly. Because they are kind of like just everything. They usually have just more limbs or more eyes, or, you know, just generally look kind of off.
Which fits, because the wizards are also kind of off.
Yeah. True.
God, I just realized the Mimbles became more domestic and the wizards became more feral.
Seems appropriate.
Like, you would think it'd be the other way around, because the Mimbles are living off of the grid, away from society, sort of wandering around, and the wizards have, like, established rules and regulations and administrative forms that need to be filled out, but no.
I mean, it is a bit like the, you know, in... I'm gonna say this like it's a well thought out thing that exists. Um, but like, the idea of like, if there is just chaos, eventually order will come from it. And if there's only order, eventually chaos will come from it. Does that make sense? That probably doesn't make sense, because I said it like a thing that's making sense, but it doesn't.
No, it does. So basically, the Mimbles just kind of went, right, this sort of works for us, so we're just going to keep doing it. And the wizards just kind of, right, we have so many rules that nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah. And you cannot have you cannot have just one, because eventually the other one will come from it. You cannot only have rules, because eventually rules are gonna get broken.
I mean, we sort of had that to a minor...
You cannot have only chaos, because eventually people will start up making their own moral codes.
Sorry, I was distracted. Kira posted an artist who I've seen the work of randomly on social media before, who they just draw very big animals with people sleeping on them. Well, they draw more than that, but that's what I saw. So that's for Miss. Hero has found things for Miss. Carry on. But yeah, I like that idea of the sort of automatic balancing of order versus chaos. Of just like, people will put order on things, but once there is order, people will want things to be chaotic.
Yeah.
Oh, straight line.
But yeah, to come back to one of the original questions, I don't know what Evil Wizard's deal is, like what they want exactly from this. Like they are against the wizards, but I don't know like how or why.
Yeah, are they against the wizards in a way that actually turns out to be good? Or are they against the wizards in a way that turns out to be basically sort of indifferent to what we want?
I imagine it's probably petty.
Yeah.
Makes sense, yeah.
Like we sort of talked earlier with some of the, like, if we do have this thing where it's like investigate what's going on in the forest or investigate what's going on with the wizards. Some of the wizards are semi-aware, but they don't care all that much because it has nothing to do with the work that they're doing. And then some wizards do care, but not for like good reasons or what mortals would consider good reasons. So like the reason why the archivist is upset that the documents detailing what happened with the apocalypse are missing is because someone took stuff from the archives and hasn't returned it. They would be just as upset if you took a recipe out of the archives for, like, I don't know, chicken and dumplings. If it's in their archive
Mm-hmm.
and you take it out and you don't put it back, that's a problem. Whether it's a failed PhD thesis that caused the apocalypse or a vintage dinner recipe.
And
I like how every counterexample you gave was a recipe thing. They've got a big recipe department, these wizards.
I'm thinking like maybe like, you know, just with like, you know, scholars being petty, I was immediately like, you know, thinking of like in some papers you see like, you know, in response to blah 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 and like the footnotes, and it's just, you know, an elaborate like escalation of
post.
that.
It's an academic call-out post.
Yeah, exactly. So like they took out the PhD thesis because that was either like going on or they were gonna do that or whatever, just which seems like a wizardy thing to do, of like look at, you know, the thing that caused an apocalypse and just go like you know, in like their footnotes of like a different paper go, well, as blah 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 said, this didn't work out. It just give this like elaborate call out post in their notes.
Now the question is was the paper they were writing specifically about that failed project, or is that just a footnote of one reference that has almost nothing to do with the rest of the paper, like Chris's art being referenced?
Yeah, I imagine it's like it very much has like nothing to do with it. It's very much a like in the apocalypse thesis they like very like loosely refer to Evil Wizard's own work, and then Evil Wizard was like, no, that's not what I said. They misunderstood and I'm gonna call them out for it. And it had nothing to do with the apocalypse whatsoever. Just this like very, very side note. It's like minor calculation that barely had anything to do with the actual project. but just was in there because they needed like this amount of sources to go in their thesis. Like, oh, I had to refer to Evil Wizard's work, so I guess this has to be in my thesis, so I'll just put it in there.
For now, I'm going to sit here and wonder what Evil Wizard was researching and studying, but I'm sure to a certain extent that doesn't matter, and whatever it is would also have just been nonsense because they just seem to study nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
We've got people who study MacGuffins because that's a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've apparently got someone who's created sentient dust bunnies because that's a thing.
That just happens.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's funnier, the sentient dust bunnies just sort of existing because of wizards of just accidentally, or someone purposely made sentient dust bunnies. And if it is the case that it is just sort of these just sort of accidentally came into existence, I'm sure there's at least one person who decided to write a thesis on dust bunnies instead of cleaning up the dust bunnies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's multiple like essays on the dust bunnies. And nobody has decided to do anything about them.
Oh no, is that not coming through? Oh, bugger. Chris drew things.
Yeah, I remembered to save them before refreshing the page because I found it suspicious that you hadn't drawn anything for a long time.
I mean, it's entirely possible. Well, I mean, I was about to say it's entirely possible we're just talking. I haven't said anything.
Those are neat.
Yeah, I really like those.
Let me do this. Like that. Doing stuff with the things.
I don't know what to stop talking though.
I think Chris is trying to get the art into the page, maybe?
Where's the word? Maybe.
There they are.
Now, if I just select the new friends, like that, there will be a white background, but I'm sure that's fine. Invert, delete. Assign layer to Christy. There you go.
Thank you. Fun.
It's been saved.
Hooray!
Yay.
It's a bit of a faff, but it works. That's basically the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did come up with an idea based on this drawing, but I don't. It's gonna take. It's. It's a movement idea. Drawing it, there's no way I can really draw it that would be make sense. But the basic idea being, I was going to add some dust bunnies to this picture, but then I thought, like, well, it's cobwebs. It's not dust. And I thought, what if cobwebs moved like an animal? And I can sort of see in my head how to animate a cobweb, like, shuffling along the ground. But I can't draw that. It'll just look like a cobweb. So, just know that that's in my head.
You're not gonna do this in Blender, are you?
No.
So we have sentient dust bunnies and moving cobwebs. Cool. Wizard Tower is awful.
It's a time.
There's one janitor, and the rest of the wizards are just writing essays about it.
Oh, the person who made Kingdom of Loathing, and then subsequently made, which was a free online game, then subsequently made West of Loathing, which is a Western standalone game. Recently released Shadows over Loathing, I think, which is a sort of eldritch thing. It's just a silly game. You play as stick figures. It's very silly. Anyway, in the options menu to that game, they have an arachnophobia option, which turns all of the spiders into mushrooms.
Aw.
And they also have an arachnophilia option, which just adds loads more spiders.
Oh.
Oh,
I mean, that doesn't surprise me a lot. There's a lot of silly, jokey puns in all of those games.
I was waiting for the turnaround there, miss. This cough's getting annoying now.
I mean, you don't have to turn on the arachnophilia option. It's just
Yeah,
there as a
it's an
joke.
option. Oh no, there's an arachnophobia option, turns all the spiders into mushrooms. Arachnophilia adds loads more spiders, and once you've clicked arachnophilia, arachnophonia becomes an option, which turns all of the sounds in the game into spider sounds.
Oh.
oh no.
But anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Actually, really funny.
Apologies for spoiling some of the jokes in the settings for a game. I specify some of the jokes. There are more.
That does not surprise me in the least. Because those games basically run off of puns and the like.
Yep, that's it. Just puns. You need to climb out of your skin. No, don't worry, it's all mushrooms. It's fine. Shadows over Loathing, I believe it's called. Which is a follow-up to West of Loathing, which is a follow-up to Kingdom of Loathing, which is a free online. Is that still up? Kingdom of Loathing?
I don't know.
I played that as a kid. You know, West of Loathing. Yeah, they just surprise released, not sequel per se, but they did Western. Now they're doing Lovecraft, basically.
Yeah, it still exists. There are currently 313 players logged in.
Nice. I did not play West of Loathing on stream, no. How dare you confuse me for somebody else? Am I not unique?
And considering how little memory is needed to maintain a game like that, doesn't surprise me that it's still.
Oh yeah, it's very basic, but also at the same time quite deep, in weird ways. I'm always fascinated by RPGs that have stats that aren't typical. So the idea of like Moxie and things like that being a stat. And like I think in the new one,
Also got-
did I draw something in the style?
Also
What?
got-
Stick figures. Oh yes, I think Secret Sleepover Society did a stream of it, and I did a comic of it. That's probably what I vaguely remember drawing Jacob and Julia walking in silly ways as stick figures.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do remember Jacob and Julia playing it, so that makes sense.
Yeah, the jobs in those games are also really funny too, because I don't remember all of them, but I remember that Kingdom of Loathing had like a turtle summoner or something.
Yeah, I seem to remember in West of Loathing, it's like people who can do magic are like bean slingers or something. and in West of Loathing, I think it might be cheese. Yeah, it's strange. But yeah, I'm always a fan of that, and like they have different status, or they have different elements, like elemental attacks and things like that, and I think one of them is stinky. It's like, just have fun with these things. It's like when Off, a very strange game in and of itself, but in the world of Off, there are 4 elements which the world runs on, which are like metal, meat. I can't remember what they are. There's just smoke. Anyway, point being, it don't have to be earth, air, fire, wind, whatever. Air and wind, both. Water.
Air
That's
and
probably
being a
one of them.
windbag.
I'm all of these things. You just found a me doodle. How dare you? You already posted the custard. Right.
Yeah, it was good to be reminded of the custard.
What do you think of the poison element in Dead Island is stinky? Yeah. It just everything looks stinky. You got a stinky blade? The elements of Dead Island are what? They're fire, batteries, stinky, bomb, yes, and replication. Are there custard people in Final Fantasy IX? I want them to make a comeback. I don't think there are. That's a shame.
I don't think there are either. I can only think of one character where I look at them and it's sort of custardy shaped, but that's just because she's just very large, very rotund.
Oh yeah. I could make one. No, that's the only thing we change in draw throughs are the names. Everything else is 100% accurate.
Unless we forget it, in which case we make it silly.
Yes, that is one of the. I'm glad you remembered the very specific wording of the rules.
I mean, I guess if you forget what a character looks like, we could always turn them into custard.
Make an additional quiz frenemy. Could be custard. I probably won't be drawing the quiz frenemy because they're optional. I think I shared.
Yeah, I think like
Ragtime
race-wise,
notes.
the closest thing to looking like custard are the Qs.
Yeah, it's dangerous them wanting to look like custard. They'll eat themselves.
Yes. But I'm just saying shape-wise, they're just
Yeah.
sort of large and round and jiggly.
Yeah, I don't know what they are. They look like
I
blancmange or something.
Don't think it's ever established. They just are.
They are.
They exist.
First explicitly non-binary character in a Final Fantasy game, and you look at them and go, "What are you?" It's like it's kind of a step, but at the same time, you look like your face looks like it's been embroidered. I could cook some meal for the gang at one point. Maybe a custard friend helps. Maybe I could just draw all of the Moogles as custard. Anyway, so what have we ascertained? Oh yeah, did we work out what Evil Wizard's plan is? What they're trying to do? Because I feel like it should come across as nefarious, but not be. And we know it's petty.
I mean, if it has something to do with having their thesis misattributed to something else, it could be that they're trying to make their own thesis, which was purely theoretical, actually real.
Right. That makes sense. What is it?
That's also a good question. It'd have to be... God. There'd have to be something involved with the machinery in the forest, because we know they're trying to get into the forest and get stuff that the wizards are trying to just, like, bury there. I mean, it could just be the case that whatever they say they're planning is just entirely incomprehensible gibberish to a layman. So it could be just like...
True.
Those were words. Those were certainly words.
It's like a confrontation of the player. It's like, you're about to destroy everything and break causality. And they're like, no, I was... What are you talking about? It's obvious what I'm doing. I'm finagling the flubberb and the 17 of the splinkle flump.
It just turns into the chicken presentation where it just sounds like he's saying chicken over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And they're like perfectly cogently explaining this completely nonsensical thing. It's like, how could you think that was bad? It's like, you can't think it's anything.
How could you think I was doing anything but this? Like, I don't know what you just said.
Yes, that's academia in a nutshell. What's the? There was an XKCD comic like that, wasn't there?
I mean, probably. I can think of one. Yeah, like explain like God. The punchline of it was something like experts in a field grossly overestimate what other people know about their field.
Yeah.
They're talking about like the number of crystal structures that people recognize.
Yeah, this is. I should not be clicking all the way through XKCD. Yeah, I like that idea. I like the idea that the explanation to what Evil Wizard is doing makes perfect sense to Evil Wizard, but we do not understand a word of it. We just know that it isn't the evil thing we thought they were doing.
No. It has something to do with, like, the forest and stuff in it, but, you know, that's actually unrelated to anything that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it could just be that they needed parts.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if they can't get back to their room, it's like, right, okay, well...
I'm trying to do this without funding. I am broke. It's the reason I'm not going back to pay my fine.
Just scavenging from old wizard tech that nobody is using because everyone's trying to bury it.
This is the comic to which I was referring. XKCD 2501. And yes.
Yeah.
This is correct. Which is probably why I remember it. Right, okay. I now need to draw Sexy Wizard, which is... Well, Evil Wizard, not Sexy Wizard.
Evil sexy wizard.
Evil Sexy Wizard.
I mean, they're not gonna refer to themselves as Evil Wizard. They've done nothing wrong.
They refer to themselves as Sexy Wizard. Thank you very much.
Not evil, just sexy.
Given that most, like, wizards are very, like, heavily covered up, is part of the evil not being covered up?
Yes. Absolutely.
I mean, I guess Buff Wizard is as well, but
yeah,
nobody
but
argues with Buff Wizard.
I don't think anyone's gonna tell Buff Wizard he cannot be nearly naked.
You tell him. No,
yeah,
you
because then
tell
they'll
him.
have to just reconfigure their face.
Yeah.
Which is probably why the one wizard decided to, you know, study facial reconstructions.
No, this is why every wizard has their face covered up. All of them have tried to explain to Buff Wizard.
Doggo has decided for me that it's time to stop drawing.
Oh no!
He iterated himself smack dab in the middle.
No. That means it must be time to stop. Fact? Well, that's a fact. Hey, Liz. It's you, El Shark Grande. Hello, El Shark Grande. The contract's been fulfilled. Fact. Let's hope it's the shark fact. The man who coined the term nostalgia thought it could be cured by taking laxatives.
Oh no.
There you go.
Huh?
Nostalgia was considered like a negative thing. It was like a condition. I think it was originally like with the military, it's like people like homesick, that kind of thing, just sort of wanting for their previous life.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm not quite sure where the laxatives come in on all this.
No, I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff, like I think digestive biscuits were originally supposed to be an anti-flatulent. People try weird things. I don't know.
Yeah, cold digestive.
Yeah. And I won't get into why cornflakes were made.
Oh yeah, that's a weird one.
Difficult to tell what's hair and what's hat when there's good dark shadows going on.
What's hair? What's that?
What's hair, what's hat?
I mean, it's a wizard. It could be both.
Good point. Good point. They're all void. Poop away the sand. You saw the TikTok. Why is everything TikTok? I saw the TV. This medical diagnosis is brought to you by Poops a Lot. The best military support medicine. Didn't, famous trumpet player, Louis Armstrong. Didn't he used to go around like constantly telling people, you really need to try this laxative, it's amazing. Like he used to carry around their business cards and stuff like that. This is not in the book. This is a random fact from my brain.
I mean, I'm mostly sitting here going, why?
He just really liked them. Louis Armstrong. Laxative.
It feels like a dangerous thing. To
Yeah,
stick into a
probably.
search engine.
Swiss Chris, I think it was called. Yes, he extolled its virtues to anyone who would listen and passed out packets to anyone he encountered, including members of the British royal family. Wow, what a way to introduce yourself.
Wow, yeah.
Hello, Your Majesty, have a laxative.
I mean, what a fucking power move.
I mean, I know at one point some idiots tried to use laxative as like diet pills, in which case it's like, yeah, I guess you'll be losing weight because you're not keeping anything in you.
I like the idea that he did that as a joke for the royal family and then had to try and justify it. And was like, oh yeah, I do that to everyone. Here, do you want some? I said, no, he just did it just to... You're gonna skulk off. Have a good evening and week.
Good night, miss.
Thanks for your 10. Hope you enjoyed. Coughs come at the worst time. Yeah. That's a thing. There you go. Next time you listen to What a Wonderful World. He was singing about laxatives. That's not true.
I mean, I know some people do write songs about drugs, but
Yeah. I love the idea of writing like a kind of drug anthem, but it's just about a laxative or a hay fever tablet or something.
How many people would relate to that? I mean, there's so many love songs, but not a single one about Benadryl.
Yeah, the antihistamine song. That'll go down well.
Antihistamine isn't even a great word.
Difficult to rhyme.
see, that's when we just have to come up with poetic ways of referring to it instead. So instead of finding poetic ways to refer to it because we'll get censored if we actually say the name of the drug, we're coming with poetic ways to refer to it because we need the rhymes to work.
Just have to bend some words.
That, or we're doing it for silly reasons. Like Weird Al Yankovic and all of his parodies.
Not legal parody. In order to, well, some of it. In order to come under parody law in America, it has to be about the original source material. So, for example, just, Eat It, for example. That's got nothing to do with Beat It, got nothing to do with Michael Jackson, it's just different lyrics in the song. So that's technically not a parody. And that's why he always gets permission from the original artist.
That's why so many parodies got in trouble on YouTube and just shut down the whole thing.
Well, that's also YouTube.
That's also because YouTube's content ID system is borked, and also because what system they do have does not have fair use programmed in.
Unfortunately, copyright law was built with the assumption that a person would be involved to make a judgment.
Yeah.
And
then you've got things where like people will overuse stuff, like people who put a copyright claim on something where it's like this isn't yours, but you used it in a remix of a song, so that you can go around trolling people about it.
I'm constantly getting that, yeah. So okay, you put this piece of music and some dialogue from this thing in your half-assed dance beat. That does not constitute you owning the copyright.
Right.
You do not now own the trapdoor theme, or open it, either. Don't you open that trapdoor theme. Struggling to draw today.
The new trapdoor was apparently Richard Ariade that hosted that.
What?
We talked about no, not trapdoor. What was it? Crystal Maze.
the new series of Crystal Maze is Richard Ayoade. Yeah, he's the third person to present that. I'm sure somebody has taken the Crystal Maze theme tune and turned that into a dance track as well. Which, to be fair, it's a real good theme tune. Everyone listen to the Crystal Maze theme. It's good.
How many good shows y'all have?
We used to. We don't really have anything anymore.
it becomes one of those things of if you make enough things, something will be decent. Or at least memorable.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why Stephen King has so many
Yeah.
well-regarded works, because he's written so much. A lot of it's just really weird and or crap. But when you write as much as Stephen King has, something's going to be a gem.
Well, that's the idea behind Project Via. We just keep throwing that spaghetti.
Yeah,
Delicious
spaghetti.
spaghetti monsters.
And you made some good doodles today.
Yay.
And Chris
Doodles.
made some very funky
Ooh.
creatures.
Oh, I like this little elephant slug.
Yeah,
I wanted to make more snoots.
Snoots! It's a good snoot.
good snoots.
It's snuffling around on the seabed,
Yay.
looking for tasty rocks. And the lovely colours on the gill thing. This was my attempt at doing evil sexy wizard. But...
I really love Death Grandma.
Yeah.
It's weird, putting the chains on the glasses is enough.
Yep.
Like,
That just screams librarian reading glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Or like cozy grandma reading in front of a fire in the favorite chair.
yeah. A good crouch. Yeah. I was doing this to make a record of.
Can't.
My plan is unintelligible.
Oh, I read it as constitutional.
It's probably highly unconstitutional, but
In fact, it's probably explicitly against the Constitution in at least 3 different countries.
it's definitely against the wizard constitution. But then again, no one understands that anyway. So
Yeah, no. The wizard's constitution is absolutely unintelligible. Don't meet any wizard lawyers. They're awful.
oh god, no! I'm not. No. Should I spin wheels to avoid wizard lawyers?
God, Wizard Law School is probably just a bunch of nonsense.
Like regular law school, I suspect.
I mean, regular law school is just a lot of learning legal terms and learning how to do research. In fact, a lot of law practice is just finding appropriate documents and references and reading them, and then writing a paper connecting those things, and then handing them over to a judge and saying this is why this should be a thing. Like the stuff that you see on like Judge Judy or whatnot is not how most lawyer stuff goes. It's mostly a lot of writing research papers.
The first half of that sounded like a librarian.
Yeah. You're a librarian of the rules.
Yeah, one of the
Into
biology
Bahonga.
students we've got right now is actually a returning student. And in a previous life, she was a lawyer.
That's one way of putting it.
Well, I mean, she was a lawyer for a time, and then after a while, it's like, right, I'm getting a little sick of this. My kid's almost in college. I think I'm gonna go back to school and get some veterinary stuff done so that I can do this thing that I actually enjoy, which is like she's helping run like a horse rescue thing, and basically her thought process is, well, I'll be better equipped to do more work at this horse rescue that I help run if I have a veterinary background as well.
That makes sense.
But according to her, like, most of the time when two lawyers are working on a case, both of them pretty much already know what's going to be happening anyway. They
Nice.
just have to sort of convince their client that, yes, via the laws, this is how things are going to go. Sign the papers, dot the I's, cross the T's, and then just turn all your paperwork into the judge.
Speaking of via the rules, wheels!
Wheels.
Wheels! Let us spin the wheels! This is...
Spin.
And hope they're not bugged again. Yay! Da 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 da! Law! We haven't had enough of that.
Law?
Law! Not like lawyer law. Or maybe lawyer law. That's up to you. Do you want to do who has wizards? Oh god, it's me.
Make the wizard lawyers.
No. I regret mentioning this.
I'm sorry, but referring to legal documents as lore is just really funny to me as well.
It's legal precedent is law. Met someone on the engineering course who'd done 3 prior degrees, ancient history regarding France, classics, Latin. He said he was doing engineering because nobody wanted degrees he had.
Oh.
You figure it out after good degree too. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have 3 degrees. They're all in maths, and I'm now an illustrator. So these things happen.
Going on here.
These things happen. So yeah, there's law. The loose connections of Lewis has the viaduct. Kiro has the Chibi's caves. Oobs has floating city. Everybody can do the harbour, so we can all learn the very complicated backstory of the organized crime syndicates that are there. I have wizards. Ignore that. Chibi has the abyss. Dark has golden city. Christy has the forest. Ragdoll has limbo, which, I mean, either could be incredibly easy or incredibly difficult, depending on the way you look at it. And Pramps has the world. But again, we're sort of screeching to the end with this, so don't feel too bad if you can't do stuff, or if you just want to do little bits and bobs and come up with silly ideas, or try and tie ideas we have already together, because...
Are you saying that none of the ideas we've come up with today have been silly?
No, they're all like incredibly sensible. And
The sun's gonna explode.
I've understood all of it.
Uh-huh.
The sun's going to explode because milk's in the boiler cupboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
That's all you need to know about the story.
Yeah.
The sun's gonna explode because milk in the boiler cupboard.
Like, what isn't there to understand? Good quote. So yeah, so that's a strim.
And you know, if fame and fortune get into the back door, the milk might be stuck in the boiler cupboard.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you don't let them get into the secret pool at the bottom of the ocean, which I didn't do a doodle of, which is annoying because I think we should remember that. Everybody remember that there's underwater water or underwater blood.
The water blood pool.
The underwater blood pool. Don't swim in the underwater blood pool.
It's a bad
I imagine if you try to swim in it, you'll just sort of pop out the other end, and suddenly you're in life and death's boiler closet.
That's why you don't swim. Many people have been lost thinking it's a little paddling pool. They just turn up in this strange field of flowers.
And then they're covered in blood bees.
Viaduct actually being an Ancient Titans game of Bring on the Wall. That was a thing. Do you remember that? I mean, probably. I don't know if it was a thing outside of. This is a really weird thing to say. I don't know if it was the thing outside of Britain, despite the fact that it was Japanese. It was originally a Japanese game show thing, and it was just with like a big polystyrene wall with a hole in it, and it comes towards you, and you've got to make the shape of the hole to fit through.
Yeah.
And it was like a viral thing. It was just a viral thing online. I have no idea how long it ran in Japan, but based entirely on the viral properties of it, they remade it in Britain. And it was that it was what you think it is.
Yeah, I've seen it. They've either remade it in the U.S. or they've shown the British version in the U.S. I don't know. I've only seen like bits and pieces.
Bring on the Wall. It was hosted by Dale Winton, if I remember correctly. Who is a name presumably none of you know, because why would you? Unless you're massive fans of Bring on the Wall or Supermarket Sweep.
I mean, I'm just bad at remembering names in general, so don't look at me.
That's fair.
One of my classes had presentations this week, and I mispronounced the name of one of the students to call up, and this had been a student I'd been seeing at least once a week, every week, for like 15 weeks. So it's like, I should know your name by now, and I have still mispronounced it, even though it's not an uncommon name.
It happens.
Oh, apparently this got 2 series, which is more than I thought. And yeah, you're right. The second series was hosted by Anton Dubek. Dale Winton was too good to do a second series of that. Wow, that's sad. Anyway, sorry. Yes, I'm also terrible with names. I remember doing attendance sheets for university classes, and we're a wonderful university where I was, and there's people from all around the world, which is great. You get everybody into doing maths and things like that, but I'm just really bad at working out how to pronounce names that I'm not familiar with, and it's bad. So
Well, I mean, one can't be good at things one is not familiar with.
But you know, I know people who are good at estimating, and I'm not. You're also horrible with names and pronunciations. Yeah. Everybody should write phonetically. That will solve all problems.
Yeah, we just have to agree upon a phonetic spelling.
All of them. Anyway, people need to go sleep. And the stream will end. Thank you for being here. I hope you had a lovely time. It's nice to see you. So nice to see you, Lewis. Hope you're all good. Hope the morning's treating you well. Yeah, I will be back. I'll be back on Tuesday with the thing called Hitman. We're going to say hello to the pigs. Oh yeah, I've got to fix it, haven't I? It's bugged, I think. But yeah, we've got that, and then music on Wednesday, and then Saturday, Riptide? Are we all good for that?
I think so.
Yeah. Is it either that or more muck? We'll find out. And then back to this on Sunday. Hope everybody has a lovely week. See you online soon, maybe see you in person soon after. Yeah, exciting times. Yes, have a good one, everybody. Look after yourselves.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.